Welcome to Film Freaks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And tonight we're doing a special review of a film that got quite a limited engagement, but was also at a special event that a certain director has been doing for promoting this movie. And we're going to be talking about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And this is now the seventh film in the View Askewniverse that director Kevin Smith, had originally set up. And once again, it's written, directed, starring, and everything with Kevin Smith, and features his go-to guy, Jason Mewes, both reprising the roles as the titular characters. And it's both a reboot and also a straight-up sequel to their first movie, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And it featured a return of several of his usual cast members from his other films coming back as well. And in this
story, some newer faces.
Yeah, and in this story, it literally does basically as in the words of Kevin Smith, he described it as literally the same fucking movie all over again. Where in this one you have Jay and Silent Bob, our regular potheads, who end up getting in trouble with the law, and they end up going to court, and they had to they falsely they forged their signature onto a document where they get their names actually trademarked by in a meta way. The company that did the movie, Saban Films, and basically they're legally not allowed to use their names, and because they're using their names to promote a new movie that they're going to use called Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, the Buntland versus Chronic movie that they're promoting, which is an obvious spoof on Batman versus Superman.
Exactly. It's a spoof on Batman versus Superman, because if you guys remember, in the first movie is Bluntman and Chronic, and in this one they're pointing fun at Batman versus Superman, where they're calling it Bluntman v Chronic Man.
Yeah. And in this movie, we have they're much like in Strike Back, they end up having to go to Hollywood to stop the movie from being made, and along the way, they get into a bunch of misadventures.
Not to mention, they do reference that the Bluntman vs. Chronic is actually a reboot of itself from the 2001. So they're still acknowledging of the movie that did in 2001's version came out, and this is a sequel to it, like a reboot of it.
Yeah. And now here's a little backstory. Now, maybe someday when we get the chance to, we'll probably do a retro on all of Kevin Smith's movies. But growing up, I was always a big fan of Kevin Smith as a director in a lot of his movies. And watching his movies like Clerks and Mallrats, it really, much like with Quentin Tarantino, he was always an aspiring filmmaker that, really changed the way we had with independent films in the 90s.
Exactly. And that's why, like Quentin Tarantino, I could seem like I can relate to a lot of these directors like Quentin Tarantino and now Kevin Smith, is because they came from the streets. And because of that, I feel like that's more solid filmmaking, because us fans know what we want. We know what needs to be done, and we know how we want things to go in direction. And them two directors can relate to that. So, and I've, like, going back in my little history, like I love Kevin Smith's movies. Yeah, some of his straight Hollywoodish movies weren't that, some of them weren't that great, and some of his, one of out of the two of his kind of own project I didn't see the full movie of it. Yoga Hosers, it wasn't good at all. It's probably one of his worst. But as for going back to the good of his stuff, I grew up on Clerks. I grew up on Mallrats and the first Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, Dogma, you name it. I fucking love these movies.
Yeah.
My favorite in the Clerks, of course. Mallrats holds dear to me too, because I grew up in the Mallratting era. I know what that is. I know what it's like to do that. Sadly it's not a thing anymore. It hasn't been a thing anymore for fucking years. So I can get that. I could relate so much to Kevin Smith. It was almost like he was speaking to me about my life. So yeah, I've always loved his movies.
Yeah, and then a lot of his early stuff too was always where he was like in his high point. Because I loved Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma. I think my other favorite one that doesn't get a whole lot of attention is Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, And then also when he got to
And
Jail Silent Bob Strike
honestly,
Back.
I actually kind of find Zach and Mary to be underrated.
Yeah, me too. That and Clerks 2, because I think that
Yeah.
when it got to around Clerks 2 and Zack and Mary, that's when I think was like his last like great movies that I thought that he
Yeah.
did. And
Yep.
then when he started getting into Hollywood, like out of like when he was really like, because he said
He
it
left.
basically.
What he did was he left his universe and became like wanted to try out being more of a Hollywood director because, of course, as a street guy that turned fame, always wanted the dream to become a major Hollywood blockbuster director. And it was his dream to work with people like Bruce Willis and all the big names. So when he worked his way up, that's when he wanted to try this out. So he started getting the big box office, and he got rid of he stopped doing his universe.
Well, then he also quit working with Jason Mewes because behind the scenes, you got to understand too, Jason Mewes was also going through quite a lot of a big drug problem back in the day. And it also showed that he was going in and out of rehab a lot. And a lot of time he couldn't work with his movies. So
And
there
now
was actually a period where,
another thing I heard him is Randall uh, kind of wanted
yeah,
to be out of the picture as far as uh, acting.
yeah. And so when I heard the news that, and you got to think too, when Kevin Smith started doing like his other tropes that he was doing, like with Tusk and Yoga Hosers, he seemed to be struggling a lot when it came to those type of like movies that going back to independent films again, because he was doing stuff that just really felt like outside of his norm that didn't really work too well. I mean, but
Exactly.
I haven't really
So
fully watched.
I kind of like Tusk for some reason. I ended up liking Tusk.
Well, I liked it.
I
I
actually
haven't fully watched
watched
it,
it,
but
but I get what you're saying. These are like his what we call it his fantasy Canadian trilogy, which are supposed to end with Canadian Bacon, but I don't know when that's ever coming out. But it's
yeah,
kind of like his own little thing he did, and he just wanted to be fucking crazy with it.
yeah.
And I can feel for the guy. The guy has the right to do anything he wants to do. If he wants to, it's just like his dream work, I guess. But yeah, I can also say that they don't hold too well and hold a lot of merit compared to his universe.
Yeah, but then when I heard the news that he was pretty much wanting to, well, and not to backtrack, but yeah, that's also the problem where basically when he got to the period where he was starting doing Tusk, he was also pretty much trying to get his daughter cast in his current movies. And at first, I mean, from what I've seen in Yoga Hosers, it really showed that she just at first when I was like watching Yoga Hosers at first, I just wasn't really feeling that vibe. And then
Yeah,
when I heard that he started wanting to do basically going back to his old days again by bringing back his old cast and doing Jalen Silent Bob, I was like, okay, now you got my attention.
yep,
And when I heard the news about this program, I couldn't be more excited. And
yeah. Here.
already from the trailers, like I already got hyped and I liked what he was. Not only was he bringing back everybody again and also continuing with the old movies, but he was also in on the joke where it was like
Yeah,
he was aware of the whole fucking reboot craze that we get.
exactly. And whenever I, saw the trailers myself, I was like, okay, I'm really into this. I was still gonna hold skeptical because I thought he was gonna. I was in fear. I was kind of worried he was gonna pay like try to get new audience, and I was worried about that. And I thought he was gonna go by the new audience humor, which, if there's a lot of comedies out there in today's world, not old days. I mean, today, as the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, that not all of them, but 90% of them, I just don't get into the dick and fart shit, the overly done shit. I was worried about that. And two, we see that his daughter's going to be playing a bigger role in this. Like he
Yeah,
said, Yoga Hosers, you're like, that's cringy. And then she did star in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though she doesn't really talk. So you can't give her
yeah,
that. And then
yeah,
she's done some other side projects, which I have heard that she's really cringy. So it's kind of got me worried. And well, upon going and seeing this film, and I gotta say, I not only was this movie fucking it lived up to my high expectations. It went above and beyond because I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect it to be this fucking good.
I didn't either, and that's a rarity that I come to enjoy. You know, a lot of current comedies, especially in theaters, that can not only bring back on that level of making me laugh a whole lot, but also with a director like Kevin Smith, he brought us back to the years that we enjoyed him as a filmmaker, and that was this.
Exactly. He brought the '90s fucking back. Not to mention, man, I mean, it was just like it was one big fucking nostalgia on top of, I'll get into my pros on other stuff, but yeah, I was speechless at how I mean, I couldn't my eyes were glued. In fact, I wish it was 2 hours
I
because
do too.
I was having a fucking blast watching this. And this Kevin Smith is back, people. I mean, and that just shows you that maybe he needs to stay in his universe because, again,
That's what I'm saying. So to get my
yeah,
pros out of the way, I will.
when he stays with his universe, they every one of them's fucking good.
Yeah. Now, and to get my pros out of the way, once again, I appreciated like it's great to see both not only Jay and Silent Bob come back, but I also love the fact that we actually get quite a lot of good stuff new that we haven't seen before with Jay and Silent Bob this time. Because in this one, not only was I really fucking laughing out loud throughout the entire film, but
Yeah,
also I actually really love the dynamic between him and, as revealed in the trailer, he has a daughter this time who's played by Kevin Smith's daughter. And to be honest, this movie actually goes above and beyond by actually not only mixing a great mix of great humor for the most part, but also genuinely good emotional moments too that are very
yeah,
heartwarming.
yeah. Like Jay and Silent Bob, you can't really. Of course, they're the highlights. There ain't nothing to say, but they're just the highlights. They're the best. They're fucking. They still have it. They have it. It didn't go away. They are fucking hilarious. They're funny. They're able to balance nostalgia shit they did in the other movies throughout the other films and mix it with new shit that we've never seen before. And I appreciate that. They didn't just stick with saying the same shit they said in other movies. That's what another concern I did had. No, this time they're able to bring some of that stuff up, like example, not a spoiler, tucking the dick and the doing the goodbye horses thing.
Yeah,
I mean, again, that was in another movie, but they blended it with something that we've never seen before. So the blend of seeing new shit was great in this film. And I will say that Harley Quinn Smith, holy shit, she did fucking good. If
she
she
did.
can act like this, she has potential to go far in Hollywood. Her and Jay, because Jay's playing her father, they have great chemistry, and like you said, it is very heartwarming. Like I didn't expect the movie to have heart. Usually they don't, but this Kevin Smith was able to balance heart for the first time, and I'm like, whoa, this is good. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it was also great, not only because the movie, what I appreciate the movie the most too is that the movie takes a whole meta kind of angle where they actually are aware that they're in the movie rebooting the whole concept. Because they actually talk about how all the reboots and sequels and stuff are all doing the same shit. They actually do that in its own plot, and I thought it worked on a very cool break the fall, like on a very surreal level, so to speak.
Yeah, I gotta say that when it comes to breaking the fourth wall meta, uh make kind of pointing reboots, making fun of how we live in a world of reboots, but also make blending it with the sequel and the fact that these none of these clash in a bad way, they blend so perfectly. That takes some fucking talented writing. And I will tell you that is another one of my pros. This all that shit he's trying to do, breaking the fourth wall and everything, come together and they blend. Probably the best you could probably do it. I would have to say it's probably the best I've ever seen. Because I've
Yeah,
seen movies that try to be half of that clever and it usually fucks the plot up. This it didn't. It blended so well. I'm like, wow, he put fucking heart into this. I could
yeah.
feel it.
Well, and pretty much, I don't want to make comparisons because they're on a completely different level. But this is
Mhm.
basically Kevin Smith's version of how Tarantino did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's basically Kevin Smith's not only a love letter to Hollywood, but also his love letter to all of his fans of all of his films that he's done in the past. Like if you liked a lot of his old stuff, you would like this, and it also brings in audiences of his other films that weren't even as well received as well.
I can't believe he was able, and trust me, there's a lot of them went big, and a lot of them, they always show up in his movies, but there's also them side ones, and I couldn't believe his paying homage. He got every fucking buddy back, and if they're fucking dead, they're either on a poster or in a shirt on somebody's shirt or something. He made sure everybody was here, including the dead ones. Because unfortunately, we did lose a character from Clerks in real life to cancer. And George Carlin, who sadly passed away, I think 9 years ago from heart attack. So, those people they're in this, but in a more homage type way. And oh my God, it was awesome. It is awesome seeing even the ones who did, like the one from Big Daddy that was in Chasing Amy. I haven't seen her in shit in I don't know how many years.
Joey. Yeah, not just that, but that's another big thing too. I like the fact that he was able to actually give pretty much good closure to a lot of old fan favorites that we hadn't seen in a long time, including his cast from his characters from Chasing Amy and Dogma. So we even get closure for what happens to those characters.
And it's funny because it breaks the fourth wall as well as letting the characters make fun of themselves.
Yeah,
like you get which starred Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and you get Matt Damon who's just basically talking shit about Matt Damon. He goes, basically they're making fun of themselves, like, that fucking, not that little rich punk loser who starred in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
He goes. I mean, they actually set up the universe in the world while making fun of their actual acting selves. I mean, the blend is just amazing. I'm just stunned how well this came out. Yeah. And another thing I gotta praise, of course, you guys gonna want to know. Yes, this movie is fucking hilarious from start to finish. My belly was fucking hurting.
It was, and some of my favorite laugh out loud moments are mainly the shit where Jay and Silent Bob are fucking with other people, like not gonna spoil anything, but there's a part there's a running joke they use with the fucking magic weed that they have throughout the movie, and they play it up in 3 different areas, and it's fucking hilarious on the first one we see it.
Dude, though. The first one where that motherfucker has never smoked because he's afraid he's going to go to jail. So he's holding this thing. You see him in the background holding. You see these 2 cops walk up to him slowly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was unintentionally funny. And that's the comedy I like. Where it just comes out just so, it doesn't need you to say, you see my balls? You see my dick? Yeah, they do have that in here because that's Jay and Silent Bob's humor. But the way that Jay and Silent Bob deliver it is a lot different from Bad Moms and Good Boys.
Yeah.
A lot different. There's a difference. A lot of people are going to be like, well, you don't like Good Boys. What's No, there's a difference in delivery. Yeah. I'm sorry. And they don't oversaturate it with this. They relied on other stuff too. Like I said, that part where the cops randomly came to them, they just came out. I just laughed. It was fucking the way they're going.
And it actually goes it's also takes a really cool it goes balls to the wall toward the end too when we get to where they actually get to Hollywood and stuff, and because they're going to this convention called Chronicon, where they're having to basically see all their fucking Mabiros like why are they dressed like me? It's they're fucking dressed why are they all dressed like you and all that?
And then they're doing a Comic-Con, breaking the fourth wall. Everybody is there for Jay and Silent Bob. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. And then also, one of the other things too, it was that the movie surprisingly was, it also had a pretty good soundtrack too.
Yeah, it was able to cast. If you remember, Boo Boo Kitty Fuck was played by Shannon in the 2001 movie, and apparently that you see in the trailers they had a kid together, and basically she doesn't want Jay around because she knows he was bad news, but she was nice to let him reconcile just for a little bit, but she doesn't realize that when the daughter finds out they're going to Hollywood, she wants to go to Hollywood because they have a friend, which kind of resembles in a kind of rebootish but change way of the clan that was in the first movie where they were going around stealing diamonds. They kind of have resemblance of those where she has a group of girls go with her and go with
Yeah,
Jay and Bob to go to Hollywood, but their intentions is different from Jay's and Silent
yeah,
Bob's.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I just couldn't get enough of this movie, man. Like, and if I really have like really any kind of like cons, I will say that there are some like cameos that they have in here, or some characters they bring in that aren't as funny. Like, there are some characters like the guy, like when they're with the cab driver and all that. There are certain lines that wasn't as funny, like I thought.
Oh yeah, like the one where he goes in detail somebody taking a shit back of his car. I get
Yeah.
you. It's funny when he gets busted with the weed though. That was
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah, and
And
then
before I get my cons, I will say that I did like how not when he was breaking the fourth wall, but I also liked how every like towards the end he actually pinpointed every one of his movies, like the part where they're looking for these actors and the little podcast area they need to go to. They actually walked in on Clark's podcast, and everybody was in black and white.
yeah, that was fucking hilarious because he even turned
Yeah,
Jane Silent Bob in fucking black and white. It's like no.
that's what that I love how he talked about. Like it went through like almost all his movies. Not to mention, did you also notice a little cameo? He actually did it for a split second, but because it's not in the universe, but he actually did it as a homage to the movie. Justin Long actually teases us that he's the gay guy from Zack and Mary,
Oh,
just for a split
I
second.
didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, that's why he was talking in that same voice because then he doesn't bring it up again, but then he goes, "Yeah, I like dick and balls." You remember how he said that shit? So
Yeah.
it was kind of like a little hint. So it's like they pretty much hinted some movies that weren't in the universe, like Jersey Girl. They have Ben Affleck making fun of Jersey Girl, yeah, that's where Kevin Smith turned into a piece of shit. Kevin
Yeah.
Smith. They keep calling him Kevin James too, so they're
Yeah.
making fun of Kevin James. But anyways, if I had any cons, I will say that while it's funny, it was a funny scene. I just felt like it was just more of a tack on. It made no sense. Was the part with the KKK members
Yeah, that was just kind of
because the girls disappear and literally the next scene they find them, and it just felt like that was a like why did they have to go missing to be found captured by KKK members like the next scene and abruptly just save them and get it over with. I just felt like it was a filler.
yeah, it felt like they were kind of padded out with that.
Yeah,
But
and other than that, man, there's nothing else I could say. I'm actually blown away. This is easily up there, easily in his top five best.
I
This
can I
does.
can
I don't know if this is better than the first Jay and Silent Bob, or if it's on the same par, or even better. I don't know because this one at least had a lot, had fucking heart.
It did,
This one
and
hit hard.
it brought me back to the time when, because I even have a really good soft spot for uh, uh, Clerks 2, and even to an extent with Zach and Mary. So I mean, this was like I think his best movie probably since Clerks 2 on that level, and he brought
Yeah,
it back in a really great way. And with that, I can't recommend this movie enough because I actually want to, because he actually has announced now that he wants to finally get around to doing Clerks 3 and Mallrats 2 following this. So
yeah.
I'm really
And you
hoping
know
with.
what? Yeah, and you know what? I will say that it's a shame, even though I get what he's probably doing, because they're instead of releasing the film to everybody, they're doing certain days. They'll pop up in your city near you, and they're touring. So I get what they're trying to do, but in a way, I felt like this movie being released nationwide, this movie would have probably made a lot of money because Jay and Silent Bob are a fucking household name in the United States. So that name alone would have made money. But again, I see what Kevin Smith's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing it a different take. He wants to kind of like tour and kind of do little early specials, kind of like what Tommy Wiseau does with The Room every now and then.
Yeah. So I get
Re-releasing
it.
and stuff like that.
But
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, this could. I think this is gonna breach my top 10. shockingly. And with
Yeah,
that being said, I'm gonna give this film a low phenomenal grade on Film Freaks meter.
I agree with you. It's a low phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter for me as well. Welcome back, Kevin Smith. You did it.
Yep. Well,
And for those of you who have also seen Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and also the other movies that Kevin Smith has done, including the first Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Clerks and all them, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and check us on reviews here and our website at filmfreaks.com. We'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
later.